Cher finally decided to reveal the secret she carried for most of her life. People knew her as a legend, a trailblazer, and a woman who lived boldly, but they never knew the full truth about the 6 famous men she kept hidden in the shadows of her heart. Fans were stunned when she said these were not scandals, not affairs, and not tabloid stories. They were the 6 men who shaped her life in ways deeper than romance. Men whose presence changed her forever. She said these stories were private because they were too important to be turned into headlines. The first shock came when Cher explained that famous men didn't mean Hollywood stars she secretly dated. Instead, these were men known in their own worlds, known to her heart, known to her journey, known to her growth. Each one taught her something about life, strength, love, and the price of being a woman in the spotlight. She said they were as important as any hit song she ever recorded. She said the first man was the mentor who discovered her before she discovered herself. He saw in her a voice that could move mountains. At a time when she doubted everything, her talent, her identity, her future, he pushed her to sing louder, stand taller, and believe that she was destined for more than an ordinary life. His encouragement became the foundation of her confidence. She said he was the first man who made her feel powerful, long before the world called her a star. Cher revealed the second man was the rival who lit a fire inside her. He was a performer like her, bold, charismatic, and impossible to ignore. Their professional competition pushed her to work harder, sing better, and fight for every inch of her career. They argued, clashed, and challenged each other constantly, but underneath all the tension was a deep respect. She admitted she admired him secretly, even when she pretended not to. When Cher shared these beginnings, fans realized this story wasn't about romance at all. It was about the emotional journey that shaped the icon she became. She promised that the remaining 4 men would shock people even more, because each of them played a role the world never saw. A role hidden in the shadows behind the spotlight. Cher said the third man on her hidden list was the one who taught her how to challenge everything the world expected from her. She called him the rebel, a man who lived wildly, boldly, and without apology. He wasn't a romantic partner, but he was someone who shook her world and forced her to step out of the neat little box people tried to put her in. Before him, she often tried to fit into the industry's expectations. After him, she became the fearless Cher the world now knows. He was a musician known for his rough voice, wild energy, and unpredictable lifestyle. Everyone in the industry talked about him because he didn't follow rules. He broke them. Cher admired that. She said he taught her that real artists didn't ask for permission. Real artists created their own style, their own sound, and their own world. He encouraged her to experiment with new music, new clothes, new performances, and new ways of expressing herself. One of the biggest lessons he gave her was to trust her instincts. She remembered a moment when she wanted to release a song that producers said was too strange and too risky. She was ready to bury the idea until this man told her, "People don't need safe, they need honesty." That sentence stayed in her mind for years. It reminded her that the greatest breakthroughs in music come from courage, not comfort. Cher admitted that their bond was intense, fiery, and sometimes overwhelming. They argued often because both of them were strong-willed, but she said their arguments were never destructive. They were creative. They pushed each other, challenged each other's fears, and helped each other grow. He influenced her stage presence, her attitude toward fame, and her willingness to reinvent herself no matter what critics said. She also said he made her realize that being different was her greatest power. The world didn't need another singer who looked and sounded like everyone else. It needed Cher, raw, bold, emotional, and legendary. And this man helped her see that before she even believed it herself. By the time she finished talking about him, fans understood that this wasn't about secret dating. It was about the people who transformed her into a woman who could stand alone, challenge the world, and shine louder than any criticism thrown her way. She said the next man on her list played a completely different role, one that would reveal a softer, more vulnerable side of her that few people had ever seen. Cher revealed that the fourth man on her hidden list was the one who unlocked a side of her the world rarely saw: vulnerability. He wasn't a lover in the traditional sense, but someone whose presence made her feel safe enough to drop the mask she always wore on stage. She said that even as a superstar, she carried walls around her heart. He showed her that letting someone in didn't make her weak. It made her human. She met him during a time when her life was moving at lightning speed. Tours, albums, television appearances, and public appearances left little space for personal reflection. Cher said she often felt like a puppet of fame, performing happiness when she didn't always feel it inside. But with this man, she could speak her fears, cry without judgment, and laugh freely without pretending. He didn't want her fame. He didn't care about her career. He simply wanted to see Cher the person, not Cher the icon. Cher described him as thoughtful, patient, and quietly observant. He never pushed her, never demanded, and never judged. Instead, he encouraged her to feel fully, to experience emotions without hiding them, and to trust her own instincts. She said this was revolutionary for her because much of her public life had been about strength, independence, and never showing weakness. With him, she realized vulnerability could coexist with power. He also taught her the value of honesty in relationships. Cher said that before meeting him, she often pretended everything was fine to protect her image. With him, she learned that sharing true feelings, fear, hope, or doubt, was a strength, not a flaw. Their connection wasn't a love affair in the tabloids. It was a deep emotional bond that reshaped how she approached every relationship afterward. Cher admitted that saying goodbye to this man was one of the hardest things she ever did. Life pulled them in different directions, but she carried the lessons he taught her everywhere. Vulnerability became part of her artistry, giving her songs depth and her performances soul. Every tear she sang on stage was partly because of the emotional courage he helped her find. She promised that the remaining two men would show entirely different sides of her, one of joy, mischief, and finally, the love that grounded her in ways the world never expected. Cher said the fifth man on her hidden list was the one who brought laughter, joy, and a sense of playful mischief into her life. Unlike the others, he didn't push her to grow or teach her hard lessons. Instead, he reminded her to enjoy the moment, to dance, and to never take herself too seriously, even when the world expected perfection. She called him the spark, the person who lit up her days when the spotlight grew heavy and life felt overwhelming. She met him during a particularly intense phase of her career. The tours were endless, the schedules punishing, and the pressure to maintain her public image exhausting. Cher admitted she often felt trapped by her responsibilities and by the constant expectations of fans and media. But with him, life felt lighter. Every meeting, every conversation, and every shared joke reminded her that joy was possible, even in chaos. He was charming, quick-witted, and surprisingly unpredictable. Cher said he could turn a quiet afternoon into a memory she would treasure for a lifetime. They played pranks on friends, danced in empty studios, and laughed until they cried. He taught her that life didn't always need to be serious, polished, or perfect. Sometimes, the best moments were spontaneous and imperfect, filled with genuine laughter. Cher admitted that the lessons she learned from him carried over into her performances. She remembered moments on stage where, mid-song, she would make a funny face or add a playful twist, simply because she remembered his infectious energy. It reminded her that her audience didn't just want music. They wanted her essence, her joy, and her authenticity. Although their connection wasn't romantic, it was deeply meaningful. He left her life eventually, as people often do, but the joy he sparked stayed with her. Cher said he was a reminder that even amid fame, criticism, and constant scrutiny, one could still find lightheartedness and fun. He helped her see that mischief, laughter, and love of life were as important as talent or ambition. She said the final man, the sixth, was the one who grounded her, gave her perspective, and taught her the lasting power of loyalty and unconditional support. Fans couldn't wait to hear the story of this last transformative figure in her life. Cher said the sixth man on her hidden list was the one who gave her a sense of stability and grounding that she had rarely experienced. Unlike the others, he wasn't about excitement, rivalry, or mischief. He was steady, calm, and unwavering. A person who reminded her that even a life filled with fame, chaos and constant change could have moments of peace. She called him the anchor because he helped her stand firm when everything else around her felt unpredictable. She met him after years of touring, performing, and navigating the relentless scrutiny of fame. By then, Cher had seen the highs of adoration and the lows of heartbreak. She had learned lessons from mentors, rivals, rebels, and playful companions. But this man was different. He didn't challenge her, teach her, or push her. He simply accepted her entirely. He offered companionship without judgment, support without conditions, and understanding without limits. Cher said he helped her appreciate the quiet moments in life. He reminded her that not every day had to be a performance. Not every conversation needed to be witty. And not every moment required grandeur. With him, a simple walk, a shared cup of coffee, or a peaceful afternoon felt as important as any award or stage applause. She said he helped her understand that lasting happiness often comes from these unassuming private experiences rather than public acclaim. She admitted that he also helped her manage her emotions in a world that often demanded she be strong, entertaining, and perfect at all times. He gave her permission to rest, to cry, and to simply be herself without worrying about public perception. His loyalty and care showed her that love doesn't always have to be dramatic or intense. Sometimes it is quiet, steady, and transformative. Cher emphasized that his influence was lasting. While the other men had taught her lessons in ambition, creativity, vulnerability, and joy, he taught her the most important lesson of all: to trust herself and value her own happiness. Even after he left her life or drifted into her past, the grounding he provided stayed with her, shaping how she approached relationships, career decisions, and personal growth. She said that knowing she had experienced this kind of grounding gave her confidence to face challenges, pursue her dreams, and continue performing with authenticity and strength. He was the last piece in a puzzle that made her the woman and the icon she became. Cher said that revealing the stories of these 6 transformative men was never about shocking fans or creating gossip. It was about honesty, reflection, and showing the journey of a life lived fully. Each man represented a different chapter of her growth, a different lesson, and a different form of love. Sometimes emotional, sometimes inspirational, and sometimes grounding. She said that understanding their roles helps people see how complicated, beautiful, and layered life really is, even for someone in the public eye. She explained that the first man taught her to believe in herself and in her talent. The second showed her how healthy competition can push you forward. The third taught her to embrace risk and rebellion. The fourth opened her heart to vulnerability. The fifth reminded her to fight. Together, they formed the invisible framework that shaped Cher as both a woman and an icon. They influenced her choices, her performances, her music, and her philosophy of life. Cher said fans often assume that fame alone creates confidence, wisdom, and resilience, but she wanted to show that behind every strong public figure is a private world full of mentors, companions, and emotional guides. These 6 men may not have been visible to the public, but their impact was permanent. They shaped the way she handled love, heartbreak, ambition, and happiness. They helped her become the woman who could perform for millions while staying true to herself. She added that everyone has influences like this, people who enter their lives, teach lessons, and sometimes leave. Not all of them are romantic or permanent. Some are fleeting but powerful, and others stay longer, quietly shaping your perspective. Cher said that recognizing these influences is essential because they teach us empathy, resilience, and the value of relationships in ways fame, money, or achievement never could. In closing, Cher said her message to the world was simple. Life is a mosaic of experiences, emotions, and connections. Each person you meet can leave an imprint, and some of those imprints last a lifetime. She urged fans to appreciate the people who have quietly shaped them, to learn from them, and to hold on to the lessons even when those people are no longer present. Cher ended by saying that the 6 men she described may have remained hidden, but the love, wisdom, and joy they gave her live on in every song, every performance, and every moment she chooses to share her true self with the world.